Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. We'll go ahead and jump right into it with our guest today. First question, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sean. I think this is a great challenge you're trying to put a spotlight on. So
Thank
thanks for inviting me.
you. You're welcome.
So my name is PK. My full name is Piyush Kedia. Believe me, PK is easier for most. Uh, but I am the founder and CEO of EMPClaims. We are a revenue cycle management company. And as part of our business, we work with medical practices and hospitals. And we have different product lines, but at the core of it, our primary goal is to ensure practices get paid from either patients or providers or any other resource. And our job is to make sure they get paid for all the hard work they do. And
Great, very
anything
much
that can
needed.
help us do that, we'll do it.
That is great. Thank you. We appreciate you helping folks work out solutions to paying the bills. So that's great. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, second question, what's the best thing about working with a team?
So working with it, we've been working. We are about 100 people right now in the company, a little lower actually. Along the way, I've had multiple companies, one in technology and second in care coordination. Um, and I think what has been really exciting is to understand how being surprised by what people develop into. You're usually hiring a resume, but in the end, the person is very different.
Mhm.
And that has always been a surprising part and enjoyable part for me working with the team, getting to know them and more importantly, identifying their strengths and working with it.
That's a great insight of kind of seeing past the resume. I like that a lot. Question number 3, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. What are your thoughts on that?
That is absolutely a problem, because the reality is most, and when I'm saying most, I'm talking junior to mid-level management at least. They are usually, they have learned skills along the way and they are using those skills to complete a job. But that may not be their core strength. They may have learned those skills very well. And that's usually what I've learned is a point of disengagement. Uh, it gets monotonous. And that's something that you have to solve for all the time. Keeping them engaged, keeping them challenged. And there should be a next step ahead. As long as they see there is something to learn for them, either grow or learn, they will continue to be engaged. Uh, I don't know if you always solve the problem, but that's a problem I keep in the front of my mind to continue and try to solve.
I
And
think
wherever I've done that, I've seen people excel at their job.
that's a great approach. I really like that approach. Thank you for sharing that. Question number 4, what other piece of advice do you have for leaders of teams?
So, like I started off that usually when you hire a person, in most cases you're hiring a resume because you can only screen that person so much. Yeah, I mean you can go through the ABC method. You can go through different methodologies for hiring. We take them. We'll run a personality test on our employees before we hire them, but you never really get to know that person. And an important thing that I try to focus on is understanding what their instincts are. It's one thing to know what their learned skills are, but there are some things that they're instinctively good at. Um, and I continuously try to find out what they're instinctively good at. Because what I would love to do is work with a team that everybody's working at the best of their instincts. Some people are instinct. I started off as a manufacturing consult industry, not my best. It's a learned skill. It wasn't my instinct. My instinct was understanding financials and working with it, understanding numbers, how to get paid. And as long as you learn your own instincts and you try to learn your team's instincts, and that's really gets busy and all that, you will tend to lose that perspective. And that's something I love to. If there is one thing I'm learning on, and I love to share with anybody else out there, is get to learn your team's instincts. What are they good at instinctively? Then they will excel.
Such an important part of driving engagement is to help them learn their strengths. That's fantastic. Thank you. Fifth question, what other successful team leaders, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
I think I've been very, very lucky. I've had a chance to learn with some great people. A lot of people who invested in my company, previous companies. Um, Sean McNamara is one I can think of, Kevin Hill, Brad Weinberg, Matt Farkash. A lot of people I can think of out there who have Ashok uh, Subramanian, CEO of Centivo. They've given me nuggets along the way on how to think from a different vantage point than what I have access to. Um, and that's been the biggest advantage for me along the way. Something it's important to build a team of more than a team, a group of mentors whom we can trust and feel vulnerable with. And that's something if that's one advice, I can learn to be vulnerable with somebody you can trust and find those people.
Yeah, such great wisdom to find people you can trust. That's great. Thank you. Well, final question. Tell us about your first job.
My first job was actually a startup. Back in 1996, we actually started out. Internet was still it was on the horizon. It was growing at a great pace, and it just opened up such a lot of opportunities because distance was meaningless. Through that medium of technology, you could access any part of the world anytime, and so was data accessible. So we actually tried to create a virtual classroom back in 96. We partnered with universities, professors who could help us develop coursework, or they would be participating in the coursework and recruit students along the way. Um, Great exercise, too young to do what you were trying to do. I did not fully understand the concept of bootstrapping and did not have the right mentorship and the right people to guide us through the process. What is a really big business today, we were very, very early in our time. Blew up a lot of my dad's money, and he was funding the whole thing. But after 6 months, we learned a lot and walked away from it. So that was my first job, my first startup at that point.
So you've been an entrepreneur your whole life then?
Most of my adult life, yes.
That is great. Love that. I always love entrepreneurs. Thank you. Well, PK, thanks so much for being on our podcast today. How can people find you?
LinkedIn is a great place to usually connect with me. I get to know them, they get to know me. You can definitely email me and all of that. Usually I find LinkedIn has the best source of connections for me.
Very good. Well, this is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thanks.